Hi everyone, I am Jessica. I'm the gallery director of Gallery500. The gallery's open right now, so I'm all face masked up, but I'm here today at 1 o'clock to take you on a virtual tour of all of the art we have in the gallery right now. So without further ado, let's get started. So first up, pardon my phone here. First up we have Peg Williams, and she is a photographer who takes photographs of scenes and little tiny scenes of eroding metal and cement or rocks that she finds out in nature or at abandoned sites. And by using a macro photography lens, she's able to really capture all the tiny details of the surfaces that she's working with. And at first glance, they almost look abstract, like some kind of digital design. But once you know what it is, it becomes immediately recognizable. And all of these pieces are printed on luster. You'll notice they don't have glass in front of them. That was a personal choice by the artist so that you could see them the best and see all the colors, but if you wanted to put glass on yours, you could. The next artist up we have is Sharon Ledoux. She works in collage, so she's taking scraps and found material that she has from either other projects she's worked on or her art studio or things she finds out in the world, and she creates these beautiful collages. Her work is really interesting because she's using pieces of paper and old tattered fabrics and threads to capture those materials that are starting to erode. They're aging, they have signs of wear, but that's really what makes it beautiful. They're about memories and beauty and life. And she incorporates her own paintings in each piece as well. This one you can see there's pastel that she's drawn on top of the layers of paper, different types of paper and materials. And some of them have really interesting textural qualities. All of her work are very small, so they work really well in any kind of home environment, whether you're just filling a little hallway, a bathroom, or stacking a piece on a bookshelf. And I apologize for my camera shaking a little bit here, but I just want to give you a glimpse of everything we have in the gallery. So up next is Peggy Banks. She's a locally based artist. All of these artists are locally based. They're part of the Beaux Arts Collective, which is an organization of Central Florida artists who have exhibited widely in museums and art galleries and fairs and won awards, been recognized for their work. So Peggy Banks works in paper mostly. And they're these beautiful marbleized paper that she mounts on copper that she does a hand patina to create this beautiful turquoise and red copper color. So all of the paper is mounted, layered up on there, and she's incorporating found elements like this really beautiful antique chain. This one is called Jubilation, and it has these sounding horns that are celebrating some sort of event or moment in your life. All of her works typically picks an emotion or state of mind and will really capture that through these little sculptural elements on each piece. And over here you see some of our other pieces and just how sculptural they really can be. I mean, the pictures just don't do them justice on the website. When you get up close and personal and see them, all of those earthy colors and the gloss and texture. And her work is also inspired by her travels. She travels all over the world and finds ways to incorporate different cultures and art styles into her works. So these pieces are really beautiful. And they incorporate, so I'm going to move around Fay's sculpture here. They're incorporating calligraphy and tie papers with slices of natural gemstones and lucky coins. So there's a lot of Eastern traditions here about holistic health, natural healing, the powers of natural gemstones, and they're aptly named Rejoice and Sanctuary. All of her works are really stunning. And you can see how sculptural they really are. For anyone joining us now, you can leave comments, ask questions. If there's something that you wanted to see again, let me know. And in front of Peggy Banks' work here, we have Fay Samimi's. So she is actually an Ormond-based artist, so very local, and she works on these beautiful clay sculptures. All of her works incorporate human and animal elements, and they're very elegant. They are supposed to draw on your subconscious mind in the way, in a dream state, your mind will kind of seamlessly combine these different elements to create surreal images and scenes. And it's just a way of your mind and the subconscious to communicate with you. All of these pieces are really unique. They're all one of a kind, hand sculpted clay. And they actually have little pieces inside them that move. So if I very carefully lift a corner, oh, they're on the other side. And it's really simple. It's just tiny little pebbles and natural materials inside the actual sculpture. And it's Fay's very creative and thoughtful way of giving each piece a voice. And it's drawing back on that communication and the subconscious. Each piece is speaking directly to you whenever you interact with it, which I think is really beautiful. Back over here, we have the sculpture that I passed by earlier. Again, you see the animal elements. We have the ram's horn and the cat ear, the birds, and of course, our lovely lady here, all combined into one beautiful figure. The use of metaphor and symbolism is really important in her work because of that emphasis on the subconscious and dream state. And you can interpret meaning into this based on whatever your own experiences are, things that you're going through, etc. Up next is Toni Slick, Antoinette Slick. She is something of a local celebrity. Her work is very well known throughout the region. Any Central Florida artist is probably, or Central Florida artist collector, is probably familiar with her work or seen it in a museum or gallery space. And she works in these beautiful abstract geometric designs. She's supposed to, or rather, each piece is supposed to reflect on words and language and the ways that we process information. So they're not representative of anything in particular. And if you look up close, you might see things and say, oh, that's wording, or that's an arrow, or that's a, map of something. But it's really not intentionally anyway. Toni Slick's pieces are all, again, drawing on that interpretation of the world around you and your own personal experiences. A lot of these artists are very expressive with their works. So it's not only about the artist's experience, but the viewer's experience. And one person will see something completely different in a work like this from the next. Her works play a lot with color theory as well. Certain colors are imbued with certain emotions and associations we have with them. This piece is called City Walls. You can tell there's an importance on architecture, space, surfaces. Surfaces are a really big theme in her work, and the stories that they can tell without any sort of real subject matter. I mean, it's a wall can tell a story the same way that a person can, and it all depends on your interaction with it. Next, we have Wilson Romero's work. This is a very large painting, and then two smaller paintings that are part of a diptych. These pieces are really interesting because if you just look at it from a distance, you'd almost think it was a mosaic. All of his work have that textile, or not textile, but tile quality to them. But upon closer inspection, you see that it's just beautiful line work and layering of paints to create gorgeous textures and color blocking. So this artist actually is a self-proclaimed poet and fashion designer and musician, and his love for all things fine art he can bring together into these paintings that he makes. And you'll really see that emphasis on design and the human form and music and fashion especially. The geisha is an important subject matter for him. He loves the way that the geisha is essentially a living art form with these deeply rooted cultural, historical, fashion, mannerisms. Everything about a geisha is part of their art form. And he uses that subject matter a lot, since he too combines all these different elements to create a universal painting. Each painting he makes also has a poem with it. And I might post this poem on the website so you all can see later. My hand's a little shaky, might be hard to read now, but it's part of his creative process. He wants to combine all the different visual arts into one beautiful visual masterpiece. So on these pedestals, in between Antoinette and Wilson's work, is Nancy Newlove McElroy. And she actually will be in the gallery in 3 weeks, to give a live demonstration. All of her works are created with clay slabs, and they're very three-dimensional, very abstract. Pieces like this have a totally different form from every perspective you take around it. So if you were to buy it, you could rotate it every few weeks and have a completely new sculpture on your shelf. They all focus a lot on earth, nature, the beauty of organic materials. And this one actually has an agate slice mounted in the middle of it. A lot of her work incorporates natural gemstones as part of one of those elements of nature that we associate with and surround ourselves with. And this piece, called Rock Bottom, aptly named because of the chrysocolla rock bottom, incorporates not only the chrysocolla but the agate slice, two agate slices. And this piece is significant because it's designed to protect whatever's inside it. When I say that, it's because this piece is actually a box. So you can store precious little oddities, things that you want to tuck away somewhere and keep. Sorry if I took you off screen there for a second, but it's a really beautiful way to store things that you want to keep safe and protect. Plus, it's just beautiful. So moving around the room, here we have Lillian Verkins. And I have to back up because these paintings are enormous. So Lillian Verkins is an Orlando-based artist. She's very well known for these spacescapes, if that makes sense. When you look at this, you really can see she's using light and color to create this illusion of space, like you're floating in clouds or looking at the scene of a galaxy from outer space. There's this depth and beauty to them, and her pieces are very much so, similarly to a lot of the other artists, emphasizing nature and our interaction with it. The bold colors just sort of draw you in, really. And these two pieces are unique for her. They're small. Normally she works on a very large scale, but she did two small pieces, and you see one of them sold this morning, actually. But they're really, really stunning pieces. She actually was featured at the Orlando Science Museum for an exhibition, a temporary exhibition on space. And they brought all of her work in because it's such a representation of that vastness and beauty of outer space and the mystery. So moving along, we have Betty Morris Parker. So Betty Morris Parker is, like all the other artists, a local artist. She works in decollage and collage. And so if you're not familiar with what that is, decollage is the process of applying layers of paper and paint to the canvas, like a collage, but then peeling away elements of it to reveal what's underneath. So she's building up all these layers and then peeling away elements, painting over it, peeling away to create these gorgeous textural works. And you can see the color just popping through in sections. That white finish is pretty iconic for her style. And this one's on paper behind glass. You can see that white paint on top and these beautiful colors that poke through. This series actually is based on some work she did with a senior living facility, and the patients with Alzheimer's in particular, because of the fact that Alzheimer's patients suffer from what could be described as a fog over your thinking and your memory. But there are still moments of beauty where their personality will shine through that fog. And that's what inspired this particular piece and the larger series as a whole, is those moments of beauty that poke through everyday life. So these next paintings are by an artist, Beau Wilde, who's, I would say, a prolific local artist. She lives in Port Orange and she is constantly working and has an enormous body of work. She actually started working initially in figurative art. So she was painting scenes of people and places that she had visited. And those studies taught her to observe the world around her and process it in a way that she could transmit onto the canvas. And as her career progressed, she started to transition into abstract. And this is essentially because the expression and internalization of the world around her became the driving force of the painting rather than the subject matter itself. And so each painting represents a place, a memory, state of mind that she's channeling into her work. And each piece has this really gorgeous energy to it. Like this one, for example, is called Loop-de-Loo. It's fun, it's carefree. Hi, Linda. I saw your comment. I love Beau's work too. It's absolutely gorgeous. And all of her work is very large right now, but she actually has smaller works as well, which are on our website. She's very well known. She incorporates a lot of the beachy tropical colors that you would associate with Florida and Central Florida, but it's still it's eclectic and colorful. So here, kind of shifting gears. I don't know if the lighting might be a little rough for Mindy Colton's pieces. So Mindy Colton is a sculptural artist who creates horse multimedia sculptures, and they're large. I mean, so this is probably at my waist height. And she's incorporating a lot of different creative materials. This little guy here is blue. I'm gonna get into better light so you can really see him. He's bright blue, and he's created with fiber clay that she hand sculpts around steel legs. And it looks like a bronze sculpture, but it's actually a one-of-a-kind, unique sculpture. All of her pieces are completely one-of-a-kind. She doesn't use molds of any sort. And all of her horses are easily identifiable by their very long legs. And here you can see this particular one. She took postcards from her travels around the country and created this Pony Express. You know, the ponies that would deliver mail, travel across the country to get your packages to you. Well, this pony represents traveling and seeing the world with the artist's own personal travels. And these legs actually are made of wood, which is how they have that gorgeous natural look to them. I love that each horse has its own little personality. This one, to me, they're very strong, like an actual horse is very strong and powerful, but graceful, and I think the long legs really capture that. And by being totally unique and hand sculpted, each person or horse becomes its own in terms of personality and energy. From mellow, curious, inquisitive to energetic, bold, startled even. So that's our Beaux Art Collective. It's a really great show. We're going to have it up for a few more weeks. Here you'll notice I have some more artwork that we have on our floating walls. These are by artists that we regularly represent. Emily Tillman is a very talented young artist who grew up in Ormond Beach. She studied at SCAD in Savannah, and all of her works are very much so design-oriented. They start out as a grid structure underneath, which you can see if you get up really close, these dripping grids, and then she's layering this abstract masterpiece on top of it. All of her works are very much so architecturally designed, reflecting on her studies. And Frank Ferranti, who's famous for his old Florida plein air paintings. Of places that you're probably familiar with if you've been to Florida or visited Florida or live here. The little tucked away spots in nature that you can find in state parks and along the coast. Here's more of Frank Ferranti's work. And we have Elizabeth Garrett, who lives in Palm Coast, and she works in encaustics. And encaustic is really interesting medium. It's beeswax and resin combined with pigment. and she layers it on top of this wood frame that she makes herself, or her husband makes them. And she's working, I wonder if I can really show you. There's this depth, because each layer is semi-translucent and all of the colors build up. She can incorporate organic materials. Here you see Queen's and lace that she incorporates into her pieces. They're very calming and relaxing. And encaustic is actually the oldest painting form that exists. It's what the ancient Egyptians used to decorate the tombs and the palaces. It's durable. It doesn't peel or flake or crack over time. And these are all on our website as well, too. So you can gather all the information. You can call us for more pictures. Savannah Lay is a photographer who is based in Orlando, and she does similar to Peg Williams, the first artist we looked at, who does macro photography. So Savannah is not quite macro, but she's taking shots of up close and personal moments from really unique perspectives. And these are actually printed on metal, which make the color just really pop. And they don't need a frame, so they can just hang right on your wall as is, or you can get a mounting, floating frame to go around it, but they don't even need that, really. It's very clean. Printing on metal is the way that photography is going, because it's very contemporary and a lot more durable than paper. But her work is beautiful. By photographing images up close and from these really unique perspectives, it makes a very intimate scene. And that's really all we have for today. I didn't get to show you our jewelry. We do have handcrafted jewelry that we always have set out, and we bring in new pieces regularly. And I'm gonna have to make a separate video for jewelry, I think, so I'm gonna let you go this time. Let me back. Thank you so much for joining me. Sorry, my mask is all loopy from talking. It was really great. Thanks for joining me. I hope that you enjoyed the virtual tour, and if you have any questions about any of the pieces, feel free to call us, reach out to us, check out our website for information on all the other works that we have. We have a lot more inventory than what's out right now, and if there's anything that you want to see in person, just let us know and we'll bring you by to look at it. Thanks so much for joining us today.